right. Welcome, everybody, to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. It's your host, Helen Edwards. And with me today, I have a very special guest, one of my brothers from the Yoga Prison Project family, Jules.
Yes. Hi, this is Dr. Julian Wyatt, Director of Prison Yoga Project Phoenix. I've had the pleasure of working with Helen since the inception of our program. I don't know, maybe 2014, something like that long ago. And it's a pleasure to be on her podcast. So I'm delighted.
Awesome. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, first of all, I just had to have you on. You were a guest speaker on one of my speaking events. And I just know that there's so much that you have to offer the world and just on your own journey. So I'd like if you can share a little bit about your journey to yoga and mindfulness, because I see a lot of your posts now, and I want to know where you came from first before you reach the point where you are now.
Oh, wonderful. That's a great question. And it's a beautiful story, actually. When I was growing up, they didn't categorize children as having ADD or ADHD. You were just considered to be rambunctious or having a lot of extra energy. So what my mom would do is she would sit in the living room and I would sit down back to back. If you can picture this, sitting back to back with somebody with the back of your head touching theirs. And my mom would talk so I could listen to the vibrations in her body as she talked. And she would talk about behaviors. It wasn't always disciplinary. It was just talking, and I would listen. The next time that we did it, I would talk and she would listen. And I think that's where my mindfulness practice stemmed from, as well as somatic breathing, just having that close connection. Somatic breathing, meaning one hand on your heart, one hand on your stomach, and actually feeling the breath with your hands is somatic breathing. So I believe that's where my mindfulness practice started from. And yoga, that's an easy one. I was a martial artist when I was younger. I've got 3 black belts. And a byproduct of the martial arts was Tai Chi, which is a form of yoga. It's a form of moving meditation. Again, meditation is there. And during my practice in the dojo, they would have us sit and meditate, looking at a wall, trying to break the wall down to see outside. There was concentration and focus with regards to breaking bricks or things of that nature. So that's where my yoga practice began. Once I entered the Navy, I soon found out that there was very little room, if any, Helen, to work out. The passageways are very narrow. And so I grabbed my yoga mat. I had a book. I don't remember which book I had first, but it was a book on yoga. And I would practice on my mat martial arts techniques, and I would practice yoga. Did I answer your question?
Yes. Your picture sort of froze, or your video froze, but it's okay. We heard everything.
Oh, good.
So I think that's pretty cool. I did not know personally that you were doing yoga while you were in the military. And you said you were in the Navy, right? For how many years?
Yes, I was in the Navy. I did 30 years. I entered in 1980 and I retired on my birthday in 2010, July 8th. So retired on my 50th birthday.
Wow. Thank you for your service. I know.
Oh, my pleasure.
I value and respect so much of our military, my son being in the military himself in the Air Force, but 30 years. Wow. That's incredible. What's brought you into the Yoga Prison Project? What was that desire that you felt compelled to join that?
I wish I could say that was me birthing that particular project, but it wasn't. I was I was the chairman of the board for Mindfulness First, a 501c3 nonprofit in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm still affiliated with them. During my 500-hour yoga teacher certification in Scottsdale, I had a young lady, Susan McCullough, with whom I'm still very much friends with, colleagues with, excuse me, came in and did a mindfulness practice with us. And I was so moved by the mindfulness practice that she had us do, I asked her for more information. And that information was Sunny White, this CEO of Mindfulness First in Scottsdale, Arizona. So that's how we got together, and me teaching mindfulness for her. Part of that process was also with Sunny White, teaching with her. After about 3 years teaching with Sunny in schools, that's what they do. Their Mindfulness First goes into schools and they teach mindfulness meditation. And so it's part of the school day. It's inculcated and part of the school day. So at the beginning of class, and when I was a school teacher, I did the same thing. I taught mindfulness meditation and mindful movements in the classrooms, and the children loved it and they responded to it. Mm-hmm. So this is a long way for me to get to the answer to this question, Helen. No worries. My apologies. So after about 3 or 4 years teaching with Mindfulness First, embedded in their business plan was to take yoga and mindfulness meditation out to the community. So I was asked to do just that. And I sat down and kind of thought about who needs yoga but doesn't have access to it. Mm. And a light clicked, and I decided, well, how about in the jails? So that caused me to go online and look up Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, MCSO, volunteer service programs, to see if there was any programs currently in progress that taught yoga and mindfulness meditation, preparing the inmates for success after they leave the jail. And there wasn't any. There was no yoga practice that I could find. There was no outside communities teaching meditation or mindfulness meditation. So that embarked that journey with getting a proposal together, getting the curriculum together. They say, be careful what you ask for. So I met with the powers to be, and they were like, yes, please start with the veterans. And my first question was, what do you mean start with the veterans? And I was told that there was a jail just as designated for veterans only because they served our country. And Sheriff Joe was really big on that. So they didn't go out. They weren't the chain gang. You couldn't see them on the streets. They were treated a little bit differently. And so I started with them. That's my bread and butter. And I'm getting chilly bumps just thinking about it just now. So we started with the veterans, and you were part of that process. From there, the situation or the program really blossomed because of the return on investment, what they were seeing. Then I was asked, could I teach the juveniles? You know, silly me, not knowing that juveniles are incarcerated in jails here in Arizona. They have a lot of them, Helen, ages 15 to 17. The young ladies are on the first floor of Lower Buckeye Jail, and the boys, same ages, are on the third floor of Lower Buckeye Jail. So I started teaching there as well. When that started happening, I found that I was teaching, 3-4 days a week. So I went online and I started to recruit because we needed more teachers as the program began to expand, which it did, to include the men, not veterans, but just the men in Durango Jail, the women in Estrella Jail. I think that's Estrella. The 2 L's make the sound of Y. And and where else did we go to? Oh, we taught mental health. So we were part of the substance abuse program called the Mosaic program. So all in all, there were 5 or 6 different jails that we were at any given time during the week with various instructors going out. So that's how that began. I wish I could say that I started the prison yoga project with my own thought, but it wasn't. It was from Sunny White from Mindfulness First saying, please take this out into the community. And that's what I did.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being a vessel and carrying that, being an extension of that program, because it was, me being a part of it for some time was very rewarding for one, and eye-opening for two, because I worked with uh, a few times with the veterans, once with the girls, and then a few times with the boys. And it really hit home, when I seen the boys,
Mm,
because I thought of my own son. He was the same age at that time. And
hmm.
I'll never forget just hearing their stories, knowing, where they've come from, and having a similar background of my own. And just knowing the power of yoga, the power of mindfulness, the power of
Mm,
meditation, the
hmm.
power of having the tools to, you know, kind of, I'm trying to find the right wording here, the tools that help manage the all the foul emotions that one human can carry in their body is
Hmm.
magnificent when it's used strategically and constructively. So yeah,
Oh,
thank you for
definitely.
that. Thank you for
Oh,
stepping
you're
in there.
welcome.
In what way has yoga and mindfulness played a role in helping you yourself become a better human?
Oh, Helen. Where does this start? I would say that the impact was the most profound when I returned from Iraq. Iraq was a difficult one. I lost some people over there. It was constant, everyday shelling, and as a result, I was given the diagnosis of PTSD, and later with bipolar disorder. So when I was diagnosed with PTSD, along with that comes depression, which a lot of your listeners may be able to identify with. Um, it was very lonely, and it was very hard to overcome just getting off the couch every day, doing something. The littlest movements were very difficult. I mean, I had it very severely. So yoga was the bridge, and mindfulness meditation was the bridge to get me back to health. Starting that practice of my particular method of meditation is TM, transcendental meditation, and there's a TM, a local TM place or establishment in downtown Phoenix. When you go there, they give you a mantra, something that you say to yourself when you're meditating. So as a way of putting your thoughts at abeyance. And this helped out greatly with regards to PTSD, having all these destructive thoughts. And I was suicidal as well. So it helped out immensely by bridging that gap between listening to your thoughts and having reactions or responses. That
Mm.
that that method of when something happens and you reacting, I mean, like reacting immediately, such as hearing helicopters. Helen, whenever I hear helicopters to this day, even now, it reminds me of Iraq because the helicopters flew constantly, taking bodies to the combat assisted support hospital, the cash. So all of there's these small little things. If I'm stuck in traffic, the same thing. So all of these things bring up immediate reactions. And what I found through yoga and meditation was it put a gap between that reactionary time period. It made everything so slower where I was able to respond instead of reacting. Yoga is the number one uh, healer, at least for me, and one of the most researched meditation practices that there are for PTSD. And I'm hoping that people may look this up, is TM, Transcendental Meditation. It's almost like if it's not number one, it's very close to being the number one recommended method for those that have PTSD. So yoga, they say that it's good for your health. Well, I'm telling you that it was beneficial to me, um, staying out of the hospital, reducing the meds that I was on, and helping me to have a clear head and get rid of some of the cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine, all these adrenaline, all these toxic chemicals that are just coursing through my body at the smallest little thing. Being able to control that through breathing, through mindfulness practice, and through just stepping on my mat and letting it all come out was really healing. And my yoga practice, incidentally, started with the very first yoga class I ever took was Bikram yoga. There's something about 90 minutes, 105 degrees, 26 postures that'll change your life. That was, and I haven't done hot yoga like in a minute, and I'm due to go back because I miss it. I really do miss it. That's what helped me to heal, yoga and mindfulness.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing the backdrop of your story. I think there are a lot of people who can relate to that, with not just with, being in the military, but also PTSD from other sources. I know my sister was diagnosed with it from a unfortunate event that happened to her. And I love how you mentioned TM, because I personally have never heard of it. And I immediately want to go and research it. So I just want to dig in that just a little bit more. What
Sure.
exactly, if you can kind of pinpoint, what exactly is it?
Well, you mean TM?
Are you sitting down and meditating? Are you moving? Are you just saying mantras over and over? Like, what's
I
the
see what you
visual
mean.
of it?
The visual is sitting, and it doesn't have to be in a lotus. Actually, the classroom or the room that you're in when you're sign up for this, and that to do TM or to get certified in it, to go through it and to get your mantra, it's kind of a little bit expensive, but they do monthly installments and things of that nature to help people that want to do it but don't have the money for it. Like all kind of different programs. I want to say it ran, I don't know, $800, I think, something like that. I don't think it was much more than that. So the method is you're sitting either cross-legged or just sitting in a chair. When we were performing this and learning it, it was sitting in a chair, Helen. And, the back is straight up, just as if regular meditation, eyes are closed. For the breathing, I use Vipassana meditation, which is feeling the air coming in and out of your nostrils, however so slight. That was my point of focus. My point of focus was on my upper lip the entire time. 20 minutes, twice a day. That's the recipe for TM, in the morning and sometime in the afternoon or early evening. And you're just sitting and you're breathing. And whenever intrusive thoughts start coming up, you mention this one word, and the word it's a sound. It doesn't have any meaning whatsoever. You just slightly say that mantra, or you recant that mantra, and then you just continue going on. So it's not constantly saying the mantra, this word that they give you. It's as necessary. You would just say this in order to stop your incessive thinking or thoughts coming in.
Yeah, I love that. Especially as
wonderful.
Somebody who's an overthinker like me, and sometimes my brain's just going 1,000 miles an hour.
Exactly.
What other modalities do you use, or do you have, not just with yoga and mindfulness? Are there any other, tools that you have in your bag that you've used? Because I always see you posting. It's almost like a book every day. And I'm just like, he read another book. Like, I need to catch up.
Oh, man. I go through a book every 3 days.
Oh.
That's my current measurement of if I'm being lazy or not. Every 3 days, I go through a book. There are books all over this house. I'm a borderline hoarder for books. The question that you asked is a great one. In my book, which you heard one of the chapters that I was struggling with because it tells so much about this journey. And at one of my lowest points, we all have a lowest point. We all have that day that was the worst day that we've ever experienced in our life. And whenever I wake up, as long as it's not that day, I'm feeling great. I wake up feeling fantastic. I'm no longer being shot at. I'm not in Iraq. So that's what keeps me positive. Some of the modalities that I've tried, and you're familiar with a couple of these, I'm sure. One is called EFT, which is emotional freedom tapping. That just one pass, I think it's 7 points. It's 7 or it's 8 points that you tap along the body. And I would encourage anyone that has never tried EFT to just try it. In the jails, it was the most funniest thing to see, because I would ask them, rate on a scale from 1 to 10 how you're feeling right now, 10 being you're really stressed. A lot of them would say 12, 15. And then I would have them do EFT, one pass only. So that's tapping on 10 points, 10 different meridians. And at the end of just those 7 or 8 little points, I'd ask them to rate their level of stress again. And most of them, if not all of them, it was reduced by almost half. So you can absolutely increase the way that you feel. If you feel lethargic, if you feel upset, if you feel angry, how do I shake it? How do I get out of this? What do people call it? I don't know, being in a funk, perhaps. If you just feel yourself in that kind of a mode, what are some of the things that can take you out of it? EFT is one of them, and it works immediately. You'll find your body even starting to tingle. So I like emotional freedom tapping. One of the things that I did not most recently, Helen, it was maybe 2 years ago, and this would almost be a topic for another discussion, is I had the privilege and the honor of going to Costa Rica and participating with shamans doing ayahuasca. And that was amazing.
Yes, I saw that. And what's so wild is I've always wanted to do the ayahuasca experience, and I kept seeing your posts, and it just kept coming up because a year would go by and then you'd share it again. And I was like, I feel like I'm supposed to go to that. And I looked into it actually, and then everything with COVID kind of happened, and I was like, oh man.
Sure.
Well, then you kind of feel like, oh, I should have went before the world closed down, but it's opening back up. And I thought what you posted about it, the experiences that you've had with it, the friendships I saw you make with the connections. I mean, I'm not stalking your page. I'm just saying I see it and I'm drawn towards that energy, and I'm just like, whoa, how cool. I was actually shocked at first. I mean, it's not like, everything about your friends and family, but when you see somebody do something that you're like, whoa, they did ayahuasca, they went to an ayahuasca retreat. What? I was like, kind of stunned. And at the same time, really like secretly cheerleading over here, like, yeah, go Jules. What? How was that?
Oh, Helen, it was beyond anything that I can ever imagine. I did my research first before going to find out, first of all, what is ayahuasca, followed by, is it administered in a safe manner? What are some of the experiences that others have had? So I have some kind of a yardstick to measure what's success. Is it just doing it? Is that it? Or was it going to help me with PTSD, specifically with PTSD? And one of the books that I read was from the founder of Rhythmia. Rhythmia is the destination place. That is the resort with which I participated in ayahuasca. And the book from, what's his last name? His first name is Jerry. The book is called Shit That the Moon Said, or something like that. And yeah. And sorry about that for using
I
profanity.
wasn't expecting that at all. No, it's all good.
Oh, well, that's the name. That's the name of the book. So if you go on Amazon and look that up, this book is a small read. It's probably the size of a Reader's Digest book, and very, very quick read. But it is his experience going through ayahuasca, and it goes through it day by day what he was experiencing. I kept a journal when I was going through the ceremony, and I have since, because I'm a writer, I have, well, it's not a book yet, but I've got about, I don't know, maybe 70, 80 pages of notes that I took when I was going through it, what the experience was, and if I received my miracle, is what they call it. Miracle is the breakthrough. And I had a breakthrough in two different areas. One is with ayahuasca. And by a breakthrough, I mean the visions, the things that I saw, the history that I experienced in a very, very short time. And then this total acceptance and cradling of the universe, allowing me to feel like I'm a whole and I'm not separate from everything else that's going on. I'm actually a part of it, was profound. It was a profound shift. And I haven't gone back. So that left me at a certain point, but it brought me forward. I kind of like, what is that? The Sankofa bird, which is that mythical bird that flies forward while looking backwards. That experience led me also to another modality that I tried, to get back to your earlier question. I mentioned EFT. Another one is Kambo. Kambo is a toxin from a frog in the Amazonian and the Amazon forest. And this frog is not hurt. It's stretched out on a stick, and this toxin is scraped from it. This toxin is administered on your body with a small little burn mark, kind of like an incense, a little, small little dots. Mm-hmm. And this paste is put over it, and it causes you to purge, and then you get the result from it, which is an experience like none other. So I'm a firm believer in Kambo, ayahuasca, and EFT. I was gonna mention something else, but I forgot where the heck I was going.
I know you mentioned doing, oh gosh, what is it called? It's where they stick the needles in you.
Acupuncture.
Yes, you did. You said you did acupuncture the other week. And I remember when acupuncture first started coming out and getting bigger, and a lot of people were like, oh, I don't know about that. But I hear there's great results from that.
Oh, Helen, I go to acupuncture, how about this, once a week. And I've had no surgeries for my pain management. And by pain, I mean my lower back is all messed up. Another reason why I do yoga, no surgeries. Yoga helps to keep the core tight to support the lower back. If I ever get like a belly, I know I'll be in trouble because my lower back is really messed up with disc bulges and herniated discs. And I don't know how many of your listeners experience chronic back pain, but yoga helps with chronic back pain. And so what I do is I go to an acupuncturist that also does cupping. Have you heard of cupping?
I have heard of cupping. Yeah, my boyfriend did cupping a couple of weeks ago for the first time. I've never done it. I just send people to go do stuff. And he did it, and his back looked like like a turtle shell, of burnt turtle shell.
Yep. All these little circles.
But he said he liked it.
Oh my gosh, yes. So I get acupuncture and I get cupping done every single week. And I've been doing acupuncture or TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, for years, Helen, for years and years. My mom went to an acupuncturist when she was younger, an acupuncturist and a chiropractor. Maybe the chiropractor was also skilled in that area, and he put needles in her. And I remember going there with her. So it's funny how this has come full circle. And she had a bad back as well. But I've had no surgeries. It's yoga, it's acupuncture, and it's these different modalities that help me to maintain.
Yeah, it sounds like you're more on the holistic side, and that's helped you tremendously with, I mean, I think with, I'm not knocking prescription medicines. I know some people say they need it, and that's somebody else's journey. But
Right.
for me, myself, I am also like into holistic healing just because my mom brought me up very similar to, doing nothing but holistic medicines. And
Yeah.
it's not that I don't think she wanted us to do holistic. I think it was just more that she couldn't afford the hospital bills for 5 kids. So,
Mm.
but
Mm-hmm.
because of that, I I think it's helped me, like you were talking about the full circle, learning from our mothers, you know, and now it's kind of like in us, instilled in us to look towards the
Right.
holistic side versus the prescription side or doctor side first. Like we look through
Mm-hmm.
this first because it's amazing listening to your story and how, just like you were searching online, who else may need this yoga practice and mindfulness, and then you were drawn to the exact thing that, like you yourself came and needed help with. And it's just fascinating. And then you go and do something that your mother took you to or helped,
Mm-hmm.
you do. And isn't that strange? Do you ever like step back? And I know maybe the ayahuasca ceremony showed you something like this. I don't know. But isn't it strange how you were saying you're part of the whole thing and it's just all interconnected? Do you ever trip out on that? I do all the time.
I do. And it's not just becoming, becoming your one of your parents, for heaven's sakes, but it's interesting how I felt then, not being a participant, but just going along with my mom. And then now realizing just how beneficial these different modalities are. And you touched on a really good point, Helen. I have a PCP, a primary care physician, my main doctor at the VA hospital. I also have a holistic doctor on the outside that I pay out of pocket for. And it's for the exact same reasons that you mentioned, the holistic route, because I'm not really big on big pharma. I like the alternative practices as well. So I have a doctor out in Gilbert that I see on a monthly basis that has me draw labs if necessary, and all the medications that are given are all holistic.
Hmm. Do you teach this to your children? Like, do because I know you've got a lot of children. Do they come to you and ask
Mm-hmm.
you? I mean, not like a lot of children, but I know you have children. And do they come to you
Mm-hmm.
asking for your advice, with anything that they're going through? And you tell them, okay, yoga, mindfulness, and do they follow that as well?
Oh, they do. My middle child who went. I have 4 children, and I have one, two, three, four. Oh, and I have 4 stepchildren. Well, we don't call them step; they're children. So I've got 8 children. The When they do come to me and ask me, different things, with aches and pains, and what do you do for? I don't know. My grandson is in the Navy as well, Helen, and
You have a
uh,
grandson in the Navy?
I do.
That's
I sure do.
amazing. You look
Yeah.
so young. It's incredible.
Oh, thank you. I just turned 61 on July 8th. And I don't feel it at all. But that's a mindset, at least in my opinion. So my middle child that went into the Navy, only one out of the 8 that went into the military. When I did ayahuasca, it was actually her recommending it. So she looked into some studies that were being done with mushrooms and with ayahuasca to help treat PTSD. She has PTSD as well. So it was her research where she mentioned it to me. And then I said, okay, let me do some research as well. And we went together. So it's a perfect example of, daughter and father
Yes.
linking up and doing these kind of ceremonies, which is just wonderful. So yes, I get questions all the time from them. Dad, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Oh, my grandson, and he might not appreciate this, but his nails, his toenails were like really like messed up, and he was like, "Grandpa, what do I do for this?" And I said, "Get Vicks and rub Vicks on your toenails, and Vicks will help to heal ugly looking toenails."
And did it? Did it?
Yeah, it did.
Okay. You heard
Oh
it
yeah,
here,
Vicks
folks.
is a
Vicks.
Vicks is amazing. Absolutely, it does. I mean, I suppose you could probably eat the darn thing, but it does so much, so many good things for you. Vicks is it's a really good healer.
I 100% agree with that. When I get sick, Vicks is my humidifier. It helps me
Mm,
breathe, and it's so big. I'm not the one that runs to the doctor right away. I'm like
yeah,
in competitiveness mode all of a sudden. I'm like, let's see how fast I can heal myself, just because I've been doing it for so long.
all the
And
time.
yeah, it's and then I literally track it day to day. I'm like, okay, today I feel a little bit better. Keep doing what you did yesterday. Oh, better today, dude, what you did yesterday. So yeah. Um, Jules, now what's as we wrap it up here,
Hmm.
what are you doing now? What are you out there doing now? Are you still doing yoga? Are you still doing the prison project?
Oh my goodness, I wish I could still do the prison yoga project. We're still, Helen, on hold. There is no date in sight. There is training, annual training coming up, and it seemed kind of weird that we've been out of the jails for over a year, and yet there's mandatory annual training. So that is coming up. So I've got that on my calendar. I'm in communication with Florence Prison, and I don't know if that's a female prison or a male prison, Florence, but they want me to come out there and teach. So that's in the works right now. And I'm looking forward to that, to expanding Prison Yoga Project Phoenix to just be Prison Yoga Project Arizona, because
Mm.
we'll be out there, and that's going to open a door for something else. So currently what I'm doing is I'm teaching mindfulness meditation and mindfulness movement to educators and staff in the Balls, BALZ, Balls School District. And that has been going on for the past year, actually. It's a cohort, it's online, and it is a wonderful experience with the librarians, the principals, the assistant principals, the teachers, teaching them how to teach mindfulness to their children. So
Mm.
I feel like this is a legacy. And I wish I would have had mindfulness meditation when I was in school, because it would have helped
Yes.
me out an awful lot, Helen. It would have helped me out.
Absolutely agree. I wish I had the same. I think I would have probably had the tools to focus more in school, especially we were talking about the ADHD. Same here. I
Mm-hmm.
was all over the place, and sometimes I'm still all over the place. And I literally I have to mom myself. I have to say, Helen, sit down right now and take a
Oh, yes.
second and get into mindfulness, get into meditation. Like, because I'm like, no, I don't want to. I want to be all over the place. But then there's no
Exactly.
good results. So
I know exactly what you mean.
well, we're going to wrap this up, but I want say any last words, tell the audience any last message that you want to do, any shout outs, where they can find you,
Oh,
anything of that
sure.
sort.
My Facebook page is Jules Manchu Yoga LLC. So please feel free to look me up on Facebook, or through Helen, my sister Helen. I would leave you with, I don't know if this was Peter F. Drucker, the father of modern management, but he says this one line that I love, and that is, the only place where success comes before work is in the dictionary.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Awesome. Well, it was a privilege to have you on here, and I would have you on anytime you want in the future. I'll put your links in the show notes. And thank you so much, Jules. I appreciate you and I admire you so much for everything you're doing out there. Thank you for coming
Well,
on.
thank you, Helen. Thank you, Helen. I admire you, and thank you for having a platform for us to speak. I appreciate that. I appreciate you.